representative of Nu Skin, and we're fortunate to have him here at the Nu Skin Americas Convention. Can you please give an enthusiastic welcome to Nu Skin's President of Global Sales and Operations, Ryan Napierski!
What do you think?
Yeah.
Awesome. Woo. I just signed her up in the back. She's on our ADR program now. So I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm so excited to talk about the future. I have to be honest with you. I can hardly move right now. Is Eric the trainer? Is Eric in the room? Eric worked my glutes with about 200. Who was there? Who was with Eric? Are you feeling it? Right? For an hour, and I can hardly move now. But if you notice, when I walk this way, can you tell? A little different. But I won't be moving tomorrow. Listen, I'm excited to be here today to talk with you about where Nu Skin is heading. You know, Susan made the comment, people make the difference, right? People make the difference. And as we know, the Nu Skin business is all about people. This is a people business. We have wonderful products, but at the end of the day, it is the people who make the difference. It's each and every one of you being here, committed to improving your life and improving the lives of those that you live with, work with, eat, pray, love. However you're with these people, you're improving their lives. And that's what makes Nu Skin successful. I love Blake's phrase yesterday. He said, turn outward, right? Turn outward. The only way we find success in our business is by turning outward. Now, I've been in this role now as global president for about a year. My family is still living in Japan. I'm hoping that they'll join me in about 2 months. So I'll actually be back together with my inspiration, which is my wife Jennifer and my 3 children. Yep, absolutely. So, as I was listening to Steve's story yesterday, Steve, I just want you to know, when Blake said he needed to leave the investment bankers and he needed to go play with his son, I thought, you know, I need to do the same thing. So, I'm going to take off here in a few minutes and go be with them. No, I'm not actually doing that. I'm here with my second family. I'm here with Nu Skin. You guys we love you. We're here for you. And let's talk about where we're going. Now, to talk about where we're going, I want to talk about where we've been. To talk about where we've been, I want to talk a little bit about motivation. And that there truly is no greater motivator than that human desire to succeed. Would you agree with that? No greater motivator than the human desire to succeed. If we go back in time, in the beginning, that was not the motivator. Aspiration was reserved for the few. It was reserved for the conquerors, the emperors, the noble people of the world. And everyone else, if you weren't born into that position, your source of aspiration was frustration, because there was nothing you could do in that time era to make your life better. Well, you could sit one seat closer under the boat rowing, but that's about it. You were stuck where you were. Unfortunately, there are still places in the world that run caste systems where people are stuck where they are today, but the world is rapidly evolving and we are all gaining greater freedom. And let's talk about that. About 150 years ago, 120 years ago, through the advancement of innovation, the Industrial Revolution began. And people went from feeding themselves hand to mouth, farming their own goods, right, to being able to move to a city, urbanization, move to a city, and actually work in a factory where they didn't have to grow their own food. Now the challenge, of course, with that was that people ended up realizing that working in a factory all day long and working for someone else did not enable them to achieve any sort of quality of life. And so you all go back into the US and it was called the Roaring 20s, right? Have you heard that phrase, the Roaring 20s? The Roaring 20s was all about a time in the economy, and it wasn't only in the US, it was throughout the developed nations of the world, where people actually began to realize that they don't live to work for someone else, but they work to live. That was the advent of multiple industries. The tourism industry, for example, became about with this opportunity enlightenment. Well, of course, the world went to war many times over, and unfortunately, it was a terrible time following the Roaring 20s. There was a Great Depression in the United States, and all of these things happened. But upon returning from war, we entered what I would call an entrepreneurial revolution. Right? The entrepreneurial revolution was all about a bunch of people coming back from war, men and women, who found themselves realizing after they put their life on the line, facing death, that they could do just about anything that they put their minds to. Can you imagine fighting for your life? And those who are in the military or who have been in the military, in fact, by raise of hand, can I see who's served for your country in the military? Can you raise your hand? Thank you. Thank you. As you well know, when you're putting your life on the line for other people, and you stop that service over time, there's something in you that's been formed that's much greater, and you realize that the human capability through sacrifice is one of the greatest motivators of all. And when we look to that entrepreneurial revolution back in the 50s and 60s, we saw industries and entire business models transform. Some for better, some for worse, right? So we had this was the emergence of the fast food industry, right? You had all these fast food companies that began to realize, McDonald's started it, where they could create franchise opportunities. People would own franchises of businesses and be able to sell Big Macs and Whoppers and everything else that makes America obese today. And we're taking it to the world, so you're welcome. We also realized the insurance industry. A lot of servicemen, including my grandfather, who came back from war and decided that they would go to work independently as independent contractors selling life insurance and other products. My grandfather happened to sell tools shop to shop in the Bay Area, and that's really, he became my mentor in time because he had taken his life circumstance into his own hands. But this entrepreneurial revolution was a significant point in time for the global economy. And it was also the birth of the direct selling industry. So if you look back in time and you look at some of the industry greats that have created and formed this direct selling industry or the independent contracting movement, many of those companies began back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And they set a foundation or a framework that enabled people to realize that you don't have to go and work for someone else. You don't have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in franchise startups, that you can actually own a business at very limited cost, introductory cost to you, and one that is highly scalable. So this innovation through that entrepreneurial revolution was a significant advancement in the economic development and the socialization effort of commerce. So we fast forward a little bit further to the technology revolution, right? So we're doing a little history review of where we've been and to where we're going. And the technology revolution began with companies like Hewlett-Packard and IBM, the creation or formation of the first personal computer that entered the home back in the 80s. And that technology revolution has then continued over the past many years, and we continue to be right in that middle of the technology revolution, right? In fact, I heard the other day, and I think we've all heard this, that today, what we have in our pockets in the mobile phone, it has greater computing power than what NASA had to take a man and put him on the moon. Isn't that amazing? What used to be reserved for presidents of the United States, or what used to be reserved for global companies now is literally sitting in our pocket 24/7, or at least on the nightstand for part of that. This evolution in technology, as we heard yesterday about regarding social selling, is impacting and transforming every aspect of the world. And in fact, it's leading us now to the next phase of economic development. How many of you have heard the term the gig economy? Have you heard that term? The gig economy. Now, I would talk with you a little bit about the gig economy. In fact, how many of you use an Uber service or a Lyft service to get here today? By raise of hands, raise of hands, did you use Uber or Lyft? Isn't that it's an amazing platform that's been created. Well, every time I go to a new city, in fact, Uber just came to Japan. Every time I go to a new city, I try to use Uber. Not because well, actually, it is because I have a better experience with Uber. But the other reason I love Uber is because I love to talk to the drivers. Do any of you ever talk to your driver of an Uber car? It's the most amazing experience. If you haven't done it, please, this is a promotion for Uber. You're welcome. Utilize Uber when you can, because I would submit to you it's the absolute best recruiting opportunity you ever have, right? Because when you sit down and you talk to an Uber driver, and I'll relay an experience I had just a couple of months ago. I was in New York for some meetings, and this guy pulls up in a phenomenal, brand new Suburban. And he pulls up to pick me up. And there's a black edition. I thought I'd treat myself to the black version, black car. And he pulls up, and it was fantastic. I hop in, and he was very polite, and I thought, I'm going to give him a smiley face when I leave. I decided that going in because he had a nice car, and I said, hey, how are you? Are you having a good Uber experience? How long have you been driving for them? He said, oh, this is great. He said, this is really, it's been good. He said, I was a taxi driver before, and I had no interest or no benefit from doing that, and so I became an Uber driver. And life has become much better. And I said, oh, that's great. Well, so, how much money do you, if you don't mind, how much money do you make? And he said, oh, I can do quite well. In fact, I'm doing so well now that I'm actually able to pay for my Suburban payment. And in another 5 years, as I get the car paid off, I'll be actually making a profit from my business. So I sat there and I thought, this is a nice Suburban. This is brand new. I think I was probably maybe 1 week into it. But I thought 5 years from now, you're going to drive probably, 10 people a day for 365 days a year. Multiply that by 5 years. You're going to have like 200 million people that have sat in that seat. And won't you have to buy a new Suburban at that point? And he said, yeah, I guess you'd probably have to buy a new Suburban about every 3 or 4 years. I said, okay, so how would you scale your business then, right? How would you actually scale that business? And he said, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure. So what he was highlighting here, and no offense to Uber, I think it's a fantastic platform to get started in Nu Skin. But that's right. But the challenge is, right, if we go back to opportunity enlightenment, people are looking for a few key things, not just one or two. They're not just looking for freedom or for independence, but they're looking for quality of life as well. Would you not agree? Everyone wants quality of life. So if you're sitting in a car driving all day long, or if you're buying a car and having to pay it off all the time, are you really having that quality of life that you want? Again, I think the gig economy is a great introduction for a bigger platform. And that's why I appreciate the gig economy movement. But I believe we're moving into a new phase of existence. And that new phase is what we're now calling, and I think it will come up here, as the U Revolution. Right? The U Revolution is all about living life on your terms. It's not just about financial freedom. It's not just about independence. It's about having the ability to have a lifestyle and a life that you want. Now that's an innovative concept, isn't it? A life that you actually want to live. That sounds like a pretty good life. That's what the U Revolution is all about. And in order to achieve that, you need to be able to link into or to be a part of a system or a platform that enables that. Now, as you get into this U revolution, the question becomes, how do you find success in the U revolution? What is successful? How do you measure it? How do you find it? What I would argue to you or submit to you is that the only way you find your way through this U revolution, which has no boundaries, it's not like you go to college, you go get a job, you get married, you have kids, right? You keep going down the path and you fall off the stairs, right? It's not that. The U revolution is about defining your life on your terms. But to define your life on your terms, what do you have to do? You have to define your terms. You have to define your why. Why are you doing this business? What is really driving you? What's driving us? I always say I joined the company 21 years ago, and I signed an employment contract when I should have signed with the Salters and their downline. But nobody told me that at the time, Scott. So when you join this business, I don't know if you realized it. I believe you did realize it. You realized that this became a platform for you to build your life on your terms. But in order to do that, you need to understand your why. You need to understand your purpose. As we heard from Blake and Sandy and Steve yesterday, without understanding who you are and what motivates you and anchoring yourself to the right principles, those first things first, putting your priorities in place, this business can easily, and any business and any financial wealth can easily spin you off track. Would you agree with that? Absolutely. And so understanding your why is what keeps you anchored and keeps you pushing forward. Now for Nu Skin, I'll tell you our why. Our why is our mission. Our why is to improve people's lives by empowering you to improve them. As you know, Nu Skin does not sell products or an opportunity directly. In fact, every single distributor that comes into this business came in and was placed underneath Clara, Craig, or Craig. Every single person globally that has come into this business, that operates this business, is a result of your efforts and your actions. You are the ones that are the empowerers. You are the ones that are bringing the U revolution to the rest of the world. And so not only is it a privilege to have the opportunity as a company to support you, but it becomes our purpose for existence. So without you, we don't exist. And I want you to know that that's how we come today to work every day. And that's why these people that are up here on stage, excluding myself, are actually special people, because they believe in the mission of this company and they believe in the idea that we can make a better world for people by helping people to truly find and live the life they've imagined, as Henry David Thoreau would say. So it's all about enabling people to do more. Now our goal, we call this 3.0, is over the next 10 years, our goal is to create approximately around 500,000 people who are full-time pursuing their life dream as a Nu Skin entrepreneur. That means that their living and their existence is because of what you do. It's because of what you share and who you share it with. Our goal is to enable that. Now, by getting 500,000 actually sounds like a small number, doesn't it? 500,000 is, it's about the population of Utah Valley. How many of you are from a larger city? Right? Tokyo, we have 22 million people. So if we go to Utah Valley, it doesn't seem like that big. So when I look at 500,000, I say, Ryan, is that really aspirational? It should be 5 million or 50 million, but we'll get started. It's okay if we do this by next week. No problem. It gives us a short-term goal, right? Smart goal, short-term focus. But this is what we want to do. We have a goal and we have a strategy to get there. So I briefly just want to cover those 3 pillars. But as we achieve that goal, our intent is to be able to get to that 10 billion mark and the 4 billion in commissions paid, right? That's how we measure our success internally. As Sandy said yesterday, we really wanted to create a company that was professional. Was it Sandy? Sandy, did you actually say? I'm trying to remember who said that. That had professional values, that ran like an IBM. No, it's Blake, right? Blake Steve, oh, it was Steve that said that about IBM. Thanks, Steve. So we have to have metrics. We are a corporation, we're professional. Our metrics are 300,000 thriving entrepreneurs, 10 billion in revenue, 4 billion in commissions paid to all of you, and thereby becoming the world's leading direct selling company, right? Those are our metrics. But the question comes, how do we do that? So very briefly, you heard about it from Greg yesterday. I'm not repeating anything to you, but for the course of beating it into your heads, so that you know that we have it beat into our heads, we will grow through 3 simple strategies. Competitive enabling, competitive advantage producing strategies, okay? The first one is what we call systematic opportunity renewal. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's another code word for a business startup, new business venture. Every year, Nu Skin is committed to producing innovations that are game changers. Whether they are industry creators, whether they are industry disruptors, our goal is to provide you with new, ammunition is the wrong word, but new tools that will enable you to go and talk about something to someone new who you believe wants to change their lives. So opportunity renewal is all our commitment to continuously giving you the best products and the best innovations to enable you to achieve your goals in the business. Now, our next innovation happens to be one of the greatest of all time, I believe, which is the disruption of the personal care marketplace. The personal care marketplace, and this data was taken from Euromonitor, who is truly the icon for market research globally, in which they state that the size of the personal care market alone is $465 billion. $465 billion of companies selling products on shelves that have absolutely no customization to them at all. And yet when you look at another Euromonitor study which outlines the top 10 global consumer trends, the top 5 global consumer trends, number 1 is what? Customization. So you've got a $465 billion market, you've got no customization going on, and yet what consumers are asking for is customization. So Nu Skin, in Joe's infinite wisdom and capability, has been able to create, through a series of investments, and I think it's up to about $40 million in investment, the ageLOC Me, right? As we all know, and we heard about yesterday, and I think you'll hear more about it this afternoon, ageLOC Me is all about providing customized skincare products. But what I want to outline to you today is that ageLOC Me is not a product, it's a platform. It's a platform that will enable us to customize and to completely disrupt that $465 billion marketplace, right? So as you think about this, I hope, and I believe I just heard we had, I don't know how many units, but we just sold out of all the ageLOC Me's at the convention, so I apologize. Don't worry, we're making more. But as we go down this path of customization, I hope that you recognize and that as you listen and internalize this and think about this, you see the bigger picture here. This is not a product. This is a platform. And a platform, just like Uber has disrupted the taxi service, in fact, Yellow Cab is virtually dead now, just as Uber has disrupted that transportation, or Airbnb is completely impacting, or Amazon is impacting this customization platform, we will disrupt that $465 billion marketplace. So, does that sound like something we can build a business around? Again, we're not here to build a business, we're here to improve lives. We need a business to improve the lives, right? So, we have the platform. The next part of this then becomes attracting and developing entrepreneurs. And I want to briefly spend some time on this because this point is really interesting to me. We all know that Nu Skin is a leadership-driven company, right? We have the best leaders in the world. we have the best compensation plan, and we can quantify this. Okay? We pay more to our leaders than any other company from a compensation perspective. Nu Skin is a leadership company. But as you know, not everyone comes into this business with the same aspiration initially. In fact, I was backstage last night, and Hazel, are you in the crowd? Where's Daniel and Hazel? I was talking with, there they are. Daniel, how you feeling? We're feeling good, right? Daniel and I worked out together. His glutes are looking better than mine. But I'm sitting back with Hazel backstage, and she's waiting in line to go up on stage as a team elite. And she said something, and Hazel, I apologize to use you on the spot, but she made a comment. She said, I never imagined this is what it would become. When I started out, and this is important, guys, when I started out, all I was looking for is a little bit of extra money. How many of you came into this business because all you were looking for is a little bit of extra money? Right? I'm telling you, there's a study in Harvard Business Review that asked in the United States, if you had to hold at any point of time disposable income for an emergency, how much money could you pull for that? And you know what it was? $471. The average American has $471 that they, according to this study, that they could access if they needed to. So what if, as a company,